All right, this is going to be skill builder number 2. This is another subject that was discussed in Module 11 textbook pages. All right, so it looks fancy and intimidating, but I think that if you just follow along and use this kind of as a crutch, you'll be okay. So it says for the nth root of this number a, okay, the n is called the index, the a is called the radicand, and this is the radical symbol. All right. Look closely. If I write it this way, the nth root of this number a, it's the same as me saying a raised to the 1 over in power. Okay? So, 64 raised to the 1/3 power is just another way of me saying, give me the cube root of 64. Meaning, what number times itself 3 times gives you 64? Well, that's going to be 4. 4 times 4 times 4 gives you 64. So the cube root of 64 is 4. Okay? 81 to the 1/4 power is actually asking you, give me the 4th root of 81. What number multiplied by itself 4 times is going to give you 81? Well, that's going to be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? So the 4th root of 81 is 3. Why? Because 3 to the 4th is 81. Okay? The square root of 9 is equal to 9 to the 1/2 power. Notice I don't put the little 2 for an index. Okay? When the index is 2, like it's just a regular old square root, we just understand that that's a square root. We don't have to write the little 2 right there. Okay, so the square root of 9 is the same as saying 9 to the 1/2 power. Okay, square root of 9 is 3. Why? Because 3 squared is 9. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated, but it's really not too bad. Let's take 27 to the 2/3 power. Well, the denominator tells you the root that you're going to take. So we're going to take 27. We're going to take the 3rd root of 27, meaning we're going to cube root it. Okay? So the 3rd root of 27, and then the numerator in the little fractional exponent, tells you what to raise that to. All right, so here's what this says. Take the cube root of 27. Cube root of 27 is 3, and then square that. 3 times 3 is 9. So 27 to the 2/3 power, okay, the cube root of 27 times the cube root of 27, okay, which that's what this means. So 27 to the 2/3 power gives you 9 because you're going to cube root it and then you're going to square that answer. Okay, so the cube root, well, in just the nth root raised to the b power, your b is that numerator in your little exponent, and your n is your root, that's the denominator in your little exponent. Okay? All right, so uncross your eyes, take a deep breath, and I think it'll become a little easier the more practice that we do. Okay, the easy ones are like just to the 1/2 or the 1/4 or the whatever. I think the ones that are a little more complicated are when we have a fraction that's not 1 over something. But here we go. Let me get a pen. All right, 16 to the 1/2 power is basically saying please take the square root of 16. What number multiplied by itself gives you 16? Well, that's 4, because 4 squared is 16. Okay? The square root of 144 is the same as me saying 144 to the 1/2 power. What is the square root of 144? It's 12. And by the way, technically it could be negative 12. Technically it could be negative 4 up here. Okay? Because negative 4 times negative 4 is also 16. Negative 12 times negative 12 is also 144. Okay? That only works on your even exponents. All right, 6,561 to the 1/4 power means you want the 4th root of 6,561. And even I don't have that memorized, so let's get our little cheat sheet out. Okay, so our little cheat sheet right here. Notice that 9 to the 4th power is 6,561. So the 4th root of 6,561 is 9. And because the root is an even number, technically it could be -9 too, but we're not going to worry about writing that. Okay? All right, this says the cube root of 1,000. Well, if 10 times 10 times 10 gives you 1,000, okay, 10 times 10 times 10 gives you 1,000, then the cube root of 1,000, which is also 1,000 to the 1/3 power, okay, that's going to be 10. Now, this time it has to be positive 10 because it can't be negative. Negative 10 times negative 10 is 100, but then times another negative 10, that's negative 1,000. And you can't wind up with a real number when you try to take the square root of a negative. So, anyway. All right. Okay, now we've got one that has something raised to the 2/3 power. So we go back up here and we remind ourselves of the format. Okay? The root number comes from the denominator. What we're going to raise it to after that comes from the numerator. So here we go. This is going to be the cube root of 64. So cube root of 64 squared. Okay. Cube root of 64. What times what times what gives us 64? Well, that's 4. 4 times 4 times 4 gives us 64. So the cube root of 64 is 4. And 4 squared is 16. Okay? And apparently I pretty much gave that to you exactly the same way, except for I gave you crisscross. Okay, so cube root of 64 squared, that's going to be 64 to the 2/3 power, once again. Okay, and 64 to the 2/3 power, just like we said the last time, is 16. All right, 625 to the 1/4 power, that's like saying, please give me the 4th root of 625. Okay, what times what times what times what gives us 625? What to the 4th power gives us 625? 5 to the 4th power gives us 625. So the 4th root of 625 is 5. Technically, it could also be -5 because this is a even root. Okie dokie. All right. 343. The cube root of 343 is the same as saying 343 to the 1/3 power. Cube root of 343, where is it? Okay, 7 times 7 times 7 gives you 343. All right, the 5th root of 32. I don't even think that's on the list. Doesn't look like it. Okay, but that is 32 to the 1/5 power. It just so happens that 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is what equals 32. So 32 to the 1/5 power is 2. All right, this one, 27 to the 4/3 power. Remember, the bottom part of the fractional exponent gives you the root that you're taking. So we're taking the cube root of 27. And then we are raising it to the 4th power. The cube root of 27. Cube root of 27 is 3. So cube root of 27 is 3 raised to the 4th power, which basically means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81. There's my final answer. All right, don't let this one intimidate you. 4 to the 4 over 2. Well, 4 over 2, that's just 4 to the 2nd power. I mean, if you wanted to do it the hard way, you could say
let's take the square root of 4 and then raise it to the 4th power.
Okay, and by the way, that's not your bell. But anyway, either way you do it, you wind up with 16. Okay? Because this is really just 4 squared, because 4 over 2 is 2. Alrighty. This one is 729 raised to the 2/3 power. So you're taking the cube root of 729. Where's 729? Cube root. Okay. So the cube root of 729 is 9. And then it's asking you to square that, and that's 81. All right. 125 to the 1/3 power is saying, please take the cube root of 125. What number times itself 3 times gives you 125? Well, that's going to be 5. 5 times 5 times 5 gives you 125. Okay. And then this one is 16 to the 3/4 power. All right, the 4th root of 16 is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. So the 4th root is 2, and you're taking it and raising it to the 3rd power. Final answer is 8.